Hello and welcome back to Phil's Drone Zone, and welcome to part 11 of Learning Piece by Piece, the complete beginner's guide to working in Motion 5. If you are brand new to Motion, I would suggest you go back and check out some of the earlier videos, and if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click that bell so that you'll be updated when future videos are uploaded. In today's video, we're going to be looking at part 1 of particle emitters and what we can do with them. And we're going to look at how we created the little snow scene at the beginning. But first, let's look at what a particle emitter is. So I've got a blank canvas, I'll create a new group, and I'll just draw out a little circle, something like that. I'll go to Properties, reset the parameter to center it. Now what I'm going to do is hit that little button up the top there, Make Particles. And on the surface it looks like nothing's happened, but when I drag the playhead, you'll see that little particles are being emitted. You'll notice that your original circle's disabled and been replaced by a particle cell. And then if we click on the emitter itself, you'll see that you have particle cell controls and emitter controls. So let's have a look at what we can do with these in terms of making some animations. And we'll start, as I said today, in part 1 of this tutorial with the snowfall. So I've uploaded a little JPEG image of a winter scene, and we need to animate that and put a little bit of snowfall. So I'm going to search in content in the library for this blur 01 and drag that into my group. And then I'm going to go to properties and just make sure that on position parameter it's centered. Now what I'll do is I will make particles as we did just previously. Okay, on the surface again it looks like nothing's happened, but you can see I've got the particles emitting from that point in the center. I'm going to make a few changes to the emitter controls, and I'm going to change the point to a line. I'm going to make it a line. And then I'm going to change the start point and end point of the lines by altering the values on the X and Y. And on X we'll make it -450, and on Y the start point to 625. And the end point we're going to make on X 1280, and the Y value endpoint we're going to make 450. And these are just personal choices, and sometimes people ask me how I know these values. Well, the answer is you don't. You just have to play with it until you arrive at them. Okay, so then we're going to have the emitters emit points, and we're going to increase the number of points along the line to 40. So they're going to come off at 40 different locations on the line we created. I'm just going to set the offset to -16 because that seemed to make it work a lot better for me, but you may not need to do that. I'm going to set the emission angle to 360, which will mean they will fall pretty much downwards, and the emission range I'm going to set to 25, which means that they're not going to stray off going straight down very far. And so that's it. I'm done with the emitter controls, and now we're going to alter the cell controls. I'm going to set the birth rate to 70, and the birth rate randomness, we'll set that to 100. I'll set the initial number to 35, and the life I'm going to set to 6, and that means they'll last for 6 seconds. The life randomness I will change to 30, which will just give them a variety of range of life. Speed 60 and speed randomness 45. And we will now focus on the color mode, which we'll keep at original, and the opacity over life. Now I don't want them popping out and just disappearing, so if we click on that tab on the bar there, you'll see opacity is set to 100. So let's create another point by clicking on the bar, and we'll leave that at 100. If we now create another point at the end and reduce the opacity to 0, what that will mean is that they will fade out rather than just disappear at the end of their life. I'm going to set the scale of the particles to maybe 25 to make them quite small, and then the scale randomness we'll set at 15 so that they're not all the same size. And that's it. We've created the little snowfall. But we're not finished yet. I don't want it to be snowing, to start snowing at the beginning. I want it to already be snowing. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm going to add a little blur. I'm going to add some Gaussian blur from the filters, and then I'm going to set that amount to 25. And then what that will do is push it way back into the background. I'm going to set it to fixed resolution. Go to group and set that to fixed resolution so that it will stay the same size as my canvas, and we will crop the blur to make sure there are no dodgy edges on the blur. So now we've pretty much created the snowfall, but as I said, I don't want it to begin snowing, so I'm going to find a space, find a point where it's already fully snowing, and then I'm going to press M, select the group, and press M on the keyboard to mark, and I'm going to drag that group back to the beginning and place the marker on the beginning. And then I'm going to stretch out to cover the whole of the project. Or I can simply move the playhead to the end, press O on the keyboard, and that will set it to the end. And now we've just got it snowing from the very beginning. And because it's an emitter, it will go on producing particles for as long as the project lasts. Okay, so that's pretty much all that we need to do. Now we're going to close that group, and I'm going to create a duplicate. And I'll call this group something like Snow Copy so that I can tell the difference between the two groups, and I know which is the copy and which is the original. So I'm going to alter some of the parameters in the Snow Copy. So we're going to click on the emitter, and we're going to leave the emitter controls because they're fine, and I'm going to change the birth rate of the second layer to 40. I'll leave the birth randomness, we don't need to mess with that. The initial number I'll set to 30, leave the life and life randomness, and we'll change the speed to 55 and the speed randomness to 120, something like that. We'll leave these as they are, and I'll just alter the scale a little bit. We'll make the scale now 50 to bring them forward, and I'll change the scale randomness to about 35. These are all personal settings, and whatever works for you is what works for you. And that's it. We are pretty much done. I can just click on this little button to alter the pattern of the emitter to make it different to the original. Now we're pretty much done, and you've created very quickly that little animation of the snowfall. And that's it really for part one, and we've learned something about how to create things using particle emitters. It's not the complete tutorial, and in part two we'll look at how we made the exploding cushion. And that's it for this video. If you like the video, give us a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so that you can stay updated when we upload future videos. But for now, all that remains to be said is see you in part two.